How you doing, everybody? Listen, I hope you're all well. It's Thursday, it's the 23rd of June, and it's around about midday. I had to write this out there about 5 minutes ago so that I'd remember it, so just please bear with me. All right? I'm going to describe a man to you, and I want you to listen to this. This man is one of 7 people who's on the steering committee of the Bilderbergers. He's accredited as being the father of globalisation and by being more responsible than any other person alive for the World Trade Organization. Until it was nationalised, he was a senior director in the Royal Bank of Scotland. Until the beginning of last year, he was a chairman of BP International, the giant oil company. At the present moment, he's the chairman of Goldman Sachs International, the international investment arm of Goldman Sachs. He's also the chairman of the Trilateral Commission. He's also the vice chairman of the European Roundtable of Industrialists. And he's also holds down the chair of the London School of Economics. And he's the personal advisor to the little German Pope on the Vatican's financial investments. It's hard to believe that that could be one man, and that man is an Irishman. And he was born here in Dublin, and he's an ex-Attorney General, a Fine Gael, and his name is Peter Sutherland. So I'll put lots of links up there that you can read his bio and all the rest of it, so that you can see what I'm saying is not. This is all in the public domain. And what happened was they wheeled him out yesterday. And again, I have to refer to this article. So I'll put a link up to the article. And the article is in one of today's national papers here in Ireland. And it's headed the following: Ireland must cede more control over budget to the EU, says Sutherland. And what this basically is he was given a prize. He collects these things like the way schoolboys collect stamps. He collects awards and prizes. Like Elizabeth Guelph a few years ago give him the James Bond title, the Knight Commander of Michael and George. It's a very, very, it's like the Star of India. It's almost on a par with the Star of India. It's a major title that's given it was given for service to the British Crown. So to give you an idea of where you're coming from with this man, okay? But he was at a meeting yesterday, and somebody called Mark Fitzgerald gave him an Irish Exporters Association Gold Trade Facilitation Medal. Big thing, made out of tin or something. It doesn't matter, but it's all this nonsense, It's all arse-licking on a grand scale, but it doesn't matter. And all grovelling. Hundreds of people all grovelling down to this bloke. But what's interesting is that he came off with a lot of facts and figures. And these all have to be challenged. Alright. And basically the whole thrust of what he was about yesterday has to be challenged. Because it's he's kind of laying down ground rules for Ireland's future. And he basically tells you what's going to happen. The opening thing tells you Ireland must cede more control over its budget to the EU. Now, what's happened at the minute is that Ireland is in an extraordinary situation. There's only 3 ways a country can service its debt, its ongoing debt, its fiscal debt. What it takes in and what it spends. Okay? And the 3 ways are the raising of revenues internally in its country, printing physical money that it has sovereignty over and it has the right to produce. And the third and the final way, and obviously for any country, the least palatable way, is going to the bond market and issuing bonds so that it owes big foreign investors money to get their money. Do you understand? And what's happened is in Ireland gave away the printing press. We no longer have a printing press. The right to print our money, we do not have any right to that anymore. I know that's hard to believe. I know that's truly hard to believe, but we gave that right away. Now Europe issues us with our money. They control that element of it. We have no control over it at all. Next thing is, well, we can make up euro notes if we want, but we have to get their permission to do it. They have to sign off on us printing any money. Okay? We've only got one of those things available. We can't go to the bond market anymore, so we only have internally to be able to raise money through taxes or through the reduction of our spending to balance our books. So that's the only way we can balance the books. Okay? You have to read this article. It's about, it's a quite short article actually. I'd say it's about, in terms of, I'd say it's no more than 800 words, 900 words. But basically what Mr Sutherland is saying is that what we have to do is, at the moment, he claims that our fiscal deficit is 8 billion euros every year. In other words, the difference between what we take in from taxes and what we spend is 8 billion. That's what he says at the moment. It's probably a lot more. It's probably a lot more. And if we had the will, if we had a government with the will, which would cut back on government spending, right across the board, we could deal with that. But our government doesn't have the will, because it doesn't understand. These people who are in politics, they don't understand anything. In the main, they're morons. But what he says is as follows. He says is that we have to concentrate on that, and we don't have to concentrate on the elephant that's sitting in the corner of the room. And the elephant that's sitting in the corner of the room is our bank debt. And the reason that that's important to us as a country is that we have decided, Brian Lenihan, who is now dead, decided several years ago when the metaphorical gun was put to his head, and Brian Cohen and all the members of that cabinet that sat and okayed what Brian Lenihan said. When the metaphorical gun was put to his head, he agreed that the Irish state would underwrite the indebtedness of the Irish banking system. So any deficiencies in that, we are responsible for it. I'm going to go back to it again. I keep going back to it because it's a thing you never see published in the papers. They never publish this in the papers. And it's the key, it's the number one most important graph, the number one most important chart that the CSO publishes. And they probably stopped publishing it because it is truly dynamite. And then it tells you Irish banks owe at the moment approximately just less than 1 trillion euros. And they're holding assets against those liabilities and that debt that are supposed to be worth more than the liabilities, stroke debt. In other words, they're supposed to be sound. But the reality is entirely different. The reality is entirely different. The assets that they have, that they're holding, are mortgages relating to this country that are all going that way. All going that way. And they put the book value down as the amount of the money that they loaned. When we know that already the property market has gone down here in Ireland at least 50, 60%. And it'll probably go down another 10 or 20%. There's no problem about that. But alongside those, they're holding massive tranches of what are called financial derivatives. And these financial derivatives in the main are what are called collateralized debt obligations. And there are variants of these CDOs that they're holding as well, but they're all essentially these CDOs. And what they are is, they are tranches of property that are held by investment banks all over the world. They put the whole tranche together of, let's say, 1,000 properties, and then they salami it up, cut it up into these CDOs, and these CDOs were sold all over the world as investments for these banks on behalf of their clients. So what we have in Ireland, we have our banks that are holding hundreds and hundreds of billions, because you can't get the information, they won't tell you the amount they're holding, But they're obviously holding billions upon billions of this stuff, which is garbage. It's zero. It's worth a tiny fraction of what it's worth. We've seen what the property market, what the real estate market has done in America. It's just commensurate with what has happened in Ireland, no different, and what's happening all over Europe. It's taken a massive hammering. Now, in some countries it hasn't. But if we take another step down off the plateau that we're on now, you can see where I'm coming from. In other words, these banks, as I've said before so many times, are technically all insolvent stroke bankrupt. There's no getting around that. And what Sir Peter Sutherland said last night was that we have to stop looking at the bank problem. We have to stop worrying about burning bondholders. We can't even go down that route. What we've got to do is worry about our fiscal rectitude to solve our own fiscal problem. This deficit that he said is 8 billion euros this year. That's what he says. So you have to look at it and read it, and you can see what's going to happen. What he's essentially saying is, he's the ultimate globalist. And what he's saying essentially is, just give it over totally and utterly to Europe. Just give the whole thing over. Just become absorbed in Europe. You can have your own little tin pot army. You can have your own flag and your own national anthem. You can walk up and down and behave as if you were a sovereign state. But we know the truth. You're not. You're only a Mickey Mouse crowd. That's reality. That's what you are. In their eyes. So the people that died, the men and the women, and young men and young women, who died and gave their lives to bring this state about, that was all for nothing. That's all been for nothing. That's all forgot about. That's all forgot about. Just forget about all that. We look after your interests. Forget about your sovereignty and your integrity, your political integrity. Just forget about it. That's what it says here, essentially. Ireland must cede more control over budget to EU. And it's an extraordinary bit of business. You must remember, this man is not just a multi-millionaire. This man is probably in the top 50 people in Ireland, one of the wealthiest. He's a tax exile. He don't pay any tax here. He's as I say, he's an ultimate Bilderberger stroke globalist. So he's laying down what they view as our future. And it don't look good for our country. It don't look good. No matter what way you view it, it don't look good. And I'll bet you all the good in the media that were at that lunch yesterday, I'll bet you he got applauded. They all stood up and applauded him. They all got up off their chairs and applauded him. I tell you, man, what a country. What a country. Anyway, we'll talk later. Bye.